Good morning. Oh, we're going to do that again. Good morning. So this is the first panel. We're here. So yes, everyone has their coffee, tea, whatever you need to do to get morning to get awakened this morning. So glad you all are here with us this morning with the PHRC. So my name is Anita Levels. I'm a Civil Rights Outreach Coordinator with the PHRC. So we're glad that you're here with our first panel. And the panelists here, I would call them like the Power Rangers. We have some just amazing folks here on our panel, and I'm so glad that they've had a chance to get away from the work to be with us this morning, to actually talk to us because they are so busy doing the work. So I just want to just firstly tell you all, thank you so much. Getting away from the work to actually talk about what you're doing, because the work that you're doing is phenomenal. I'm going to just start off by just giving gratitude for you all for doing the work, so thank you. I'm not going to get too much into their bio. Their bios are in the program, but I am definitely going to introduce to you because we are starting a little bit later. I'm going to introduce you all. We're starting here. We have Kamaya Berry. She's a Court Resource Navigator of Rent Help Pittsburgh. They do such great work. And then we have next to Kamaya, we have Natalie Ryan. She's the Director of the Housing Stabilization of Action Housing. Please make sure, please read their bios, please. And then next to Natalie Ryan, we have Amity Weichel Sandstrom, which is the Program Manager of Just Mediation here in Pittsburgh. Then we have Adam Debo, JD, Manager of Housing with the Neighborhood Legal Services. So now you see why we have the Power Rangers here. They're bringing all their powers here to us this morning. So thanks again for being with us. Just starting off real quickly, thank you for attending here. I feel, like I said, we have the Power Rangers here, a powerhouse of just information, team of players of the ecosystem of tenant stability that we have here within our region. Since COVID, even before COVID, we've had just the instability of housing historically. Through marginalization of housing, through redlining of housing, even more so since COVID, there's been such an issue with housing. I went to the housing summit this week and had a chance to hang out with a lot of the players here in our region with housing. In particular, Adam and I were there, and they mentioned that there have been 70% of housing that have been taken away when it comes to within our region of Allegheny County, which is unseen of. In New York, I think it might have been just 13%, but here in our region, 70% of housing have been taken away. And so that's a huge issue that we're dealing here within our region. However, with every problem, thankfully, within our region, we have a solution. So we have the players here that have a magnificent solution of housing instability, of ecosystem that we have created here. And they're going to talk a little about that. One of them is Just Mediation, which is the mediation of tenant and landlord solutions that they have here. Rent Help Pittsburgh, of course, with Action Housing. So we're going to talk a little about that. I'm going to start off here with Kamaya, and they're going to, each of them, just talk a little bit about what they do and how they're all interwoven and how they've working with their tenant instability and how they're all working together with that. So I'm going to let them go for it.
Hello, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Is this on?
Is it on?
Yeah, it's on. So my name's Kamaya. I'm a Court Resource Navigator at Rent Help Pittsburgh, and we are a nonprofit in Allegheny County that helps stabilize housing and prevent evictions for households. One of the main things we do is direct referral pathways for rental assistance, but we also just do individualized resource navigation for households because there's usually a lot of different things that go into what might have led you to housing instability. So whether it's mental health support, connecting you to different food security resources, things like that, we individually go through with families and figure out what they need and connect them to those resources. So that's what I do.
Thanks, Kamaya. It's Natalie.
I'm Natalie Ryan. I work at Action Housing, and the Allegheny Housing Stabilization Collaborative, of which we are all part. Action Housing and these wonderful partners work together during the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. So we were able to disperse over $150 million in Allegheny County and stabilize 22,000 households. Since that time, we have developed into this really great team of folks working every day to try and stabilize households. So what Action does is we have a team of folks who process applications for rental assistance. We also staff the Housing Stabilization Center, which is in downtown Pittsburgh, along with Rent Help Pittsburgh. It's at 415 7th Avenue. So we do have a place where folks can go in person and speak with staff members to talk about whatever resources they might need. Although our primary focus is eviction prevention, we try and connect people to any resources they may need Monday through Thursday, 9:30 to 4:30 p.m. That's what Action Housing does.
I'm Amity. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Good. I'm the program manager at Just Mediation Pittsburgh. We are a nonprofit organization that provides free mediation services for tenants and landlords. All of our mediations are done remotely, so we do them either over Zoom or over the phone. We serve folks under 80% AMI in Allegheny County. And we work as an alternative to eviction court. So landlords and tenants can come to Just Mediation Pittsburgh. You can mediate whatever your housing dispute is. Oftentimes that's arrearages, but we see things like habitability concerns, end of lease terms, all different things like that. Those folks can come to mediation, come to an agreement that is then an addendum to their lease, and it opens up pathways to the rest of our collaborative, so rental assistance through Action and Rent Help, legal aid through neighborhood legal services, and we connect tenants with other wraparound services as well.
Thank you, Amity. Adam?
Hi, everybody. My name is Adam Debo. I manage the housing department at Neighborhood Legal Services. We are the local legal aid firm. If you're unfamiliar, that means we're a nonprofit civil legal aid law firm. We handle, yes, housing, and as well as an additional plenty of other civil issues, family, utilities, consumer. But as of 2021, 2022, housing became our largest substantive area. It takes up around 45 to 50% of our cases total. We partner with all these other great organizations here in the Allegheny Housing Stabilization Collaborative and provide the legal support in those cases to tenants in Allegheny and also Beaver, Butler, and Lawrence counties.
Thank you. Now, Adam, now that you're talking, let's talk a little bit about Lawyer of the Day. How many of you all heard of that program, Lawyer of the Day? Oh, just a little bit. So, okay, this is good. So let's talk about that because we want to talk about things that people haven't heard of before. We want to get that awareness. Can we talk a little bit about Lawyer of the Day and the importance of tenant rights? Because we know that when there's any kind of litigation, that usually landlords are the one, they have that privilege and the power when they go into litigation. But how important Lawyer of the Day has been with tenant rights, and can you talk a little bit about that program that you all provide?
Sure. I'll just briefly say that Lawyer of the Day is kind of one of a few separate measures that we've taken to try to address housing instability and kind of evictions in Allegheny County. So it's part of the larger ecosystem, but Lawyer of the Day is a pseudo right to counsel program in an attempt to get tenants who are facing eviction, legal representation, and in addition to that, resource navigation. At the earliest level, at the magisterial district court level. So we staff attorneys alongside resource navigators with Rent Help Pittsburgh in certain magisterial district courts in an attempt to kind of get tenants involved in all of the resources that we have to offer as early as possible. Statistically, landlords are successful about 85% of the time in magisterial district courts in landlord-tenant cases. So we were looking at that and trying to figure out a way to address that kind of massive disparity and get tenants access to legal aid, yes, but also to other resources through Rent Help Pittsburgh, through Action, and even realistically try to avoid that altogether and get folks in contact with Just Mediation Pittsburgh and try to keep folks out of kind of the legal system altogether.
So speaking of that, so what I'm hearing just before they even get into the legal system, and that's where I guess Just Mediation comes in prior to even getting into litigation. Can you talk a little bit more about Just Mediation, where you're at, Amity?
Absolutely.
The mediation process.
So we, anytime that a tenant is potentially facing eviction. So once cases move into the eviction landscape, that is where the rest of our partners come in to support tenants. Prior to that, what we want to do is get landlords and tenants to the table having a conversation. Once we have both parties at the table, we have over a 90% success rate. This prevents, as we know, there's a lot of issues with public evictions in all over the place, but in Allegheny County. So this prevents evictions from going on tenants' records. This keeps money in landlords' pockets. We are a neutral organization so that we are able to be trusted by both parties to come to the table and find a solution that is both reasonable and realistic for both party situations. Nobody's ever going to get 100% of what they want by, you're coming in with conflict. You're never going to 100% get the thing that you came in wanting, but it's a place to collaborate. And instead of a judge telling you, this is what is going to happen, A, B, and C, you get to have a hand in creating a reasonable and realistic solution for your situation.
Thank you. Now, as far as like the resources that are provided, I guess we can talk more to Action Housing and Rent Help Pittsburgh. I've been down to the stabilization program there. It's buzzing. It's amazing the work that you all are doing down there. So thank you. What are some of the resources that are available? And Action Housing, it's just, you all are just everything when it comes to the community here, but even Rent Help, either Kimaya, either one of you all can talk to what that services you all provide.
Yeah, so I think the important thing to note is that so Action sometimes is sort of the end of the process, and if you think of it as a two-prong referral path, either folks come to us through having an eviction with their landlord or having a mediation agreement with Just Mediation Pittsburgh. So these teams of folks who work with people who've either been in court with Lawyer of the Day or they come to us because they've had a mediation agreement. They all work with Rent Help Pittsburgh. Then they come to us at Action Housing. We're the ones that have the money, for lack of a better, we have the money at the end. And that is because we've developed a really great system at Action to disperse money quickly. So obviously we know that during COVID, money out the door was really important. So Action developed a process to be able to pay people very, very quickly, where previously it may have taken weeks to months to get a check out the door. We are able to pay landlords through ACH or via check, and last year alone we made almost 5,000 payments. So all these pathways where we get referrals, the team of folks, we meet with them either in person or on the phone. We email all day long. The Housing Stabilization Center was created so that those who may have a barrier to technology would have people to sit down with and talk to. They would help them fill out the applications. That has developed into, obviously, us just wanting to get our hands on all resources that are available. So we have packets, we have pamphlets. We now get deliveries from the Greater Pittsburgh Food Bank. So we have food boxes of shelf-stable goods that we give out about 4 times a year. We work with the Greater Pittsburgh Literacy Council to have free books for kids. We have cookies. We try to make it a really welcoming space so that people come in, and even if there's not something financial that we're able to provide, that they leave feeling like they had more than when they came in.
Thank you.
And for the resource navigation, we have 2 major programs at Rent Help Pittsburgh. We work with Just Mediation Pittsburgh, and then we also have the Lawyer of the Day program. For Just Mediation, because the landlords and the tenants need to connect with mediation first, they get connected to a resource navigator through Just Mediation. For Lawyer of the Day, we actually do outreach. So as soon as somebody is filed on, we get their filing and we reach out to those contacts based off of DHS portals and stuff, trying to get people's phone numbers. Sometimes I call people and they don't even know they have an eviction because they didn't get the letter in the mail yet. So we connect to those people that way, and we just try and get you whatever you need. So our main thing is definitely rental assistance, doing those direct referral pathways straight to Action Housing, but also, like I said, mental health help, food stability, child care, employment is a really big one right now that people are asking for help with. And for those, we usually just connect with other community partners. So people that are already experts in those fields, we kind of organize and connect with them to get people to where they need to be and get them the help that they need.
Thank you. Now I have, we had a whole meeting as a panel before we came up here, and I've only asked one question from the 5 questions that we. So I want to honor the questions that I said I'd ask you. So I'm going to at least go through one more of these questions, because I have to honor even the moment that we're in as a country, right? And ask this question. As a collaborative, right? We've worked. This is question number 4, guys. You all have worked. You all came together during the COVID. You know, that was the thing we all went through. I still believe that we're all contracting from COVID, and I think we're still trying to pretend COVID didn't happen. That's just kind of like my personal thing. I still think that as a country, we're still kind of contracting from COVID. You all came together because of COVID. And even Natalie, you mentioned you had a lot of funding from COVID. Has that dried up a bit, you think?
Yes.
Okay, yep. So we're dealing with an administration federally. We're dealing with an administration. And so during that pandemic, we currently have a federal climate of instability. What changes have you seen, or what changes do you foresee could potentially have an effect on funding, and even an effect of how that can affect what's going on in housing right now? Feel free to, whoever wants to chime in on that.
So I will say that so we're not even completely done with our COVID funding, so that's one good thing. Another thing that we've done as a collaborative is advocate for funding from other places. So we also spend money through the Urban Redevelopment Authority's Housing Stabilization Program funds. We advocated for money from Penn Hills Municipality to help Penn Hills residents. And we created the system where people don't even really have to know where the funding that they're receiving is coming from. We just are able to assess their needs, and if we have funding available to help them, we will. We're always advocating for more money. The URA is giving us more HSP. They allocated $1.6 million this year as opposed to our $850 last year, because we did such a great job at dispersing that in about 4.5 months. Wow. Because that shows you how great the need is, and they recognize that we should, keep funding that project. So COVID has allowed us the opportunity to learn from everything that we did during that pandemic, and I think we're well poised to continue to advocate for more funding and to show how we're able to stabilize housing and how we've been able to do that over the last 4 years. So we're fortunate that the county has recognized this, and we will have rental assistance next year. And we're able to meet collaboratively together to say, these are the things that we saw that worked really well. Let's keep doing those. Here are some things that we would like to change. And everyone's been very open to our suggestions, which is a really amazing and incredible experience. So I feel like hopefully the residents of Allegheny County will see the benefits of that in the years to come.
Sure. Thank you. Anyone else want to maybe speak to that? Or?
Yeah, I think that something that's really beautiful about our collaborative is that we see tenants as whole people and not as an individual in this specific circumstance in which we're meeting them. So treating the symptoms of housing instability along with the causes of housing instability, and we're just always trying to find new ways to do that. So we're in the community, we're talking to folks, we're not prescribing a solution, we're asking, what are your needs? How can we make these things happen for you? And we're constantly in communication and tweaking our programs and the way that we do outreach so that we're meeting the needs of the communities and their neighbors that we're serving.
Speaking of that, I know this does go to one of our questions that's actually on the paper. Aren't you proud of us? We're doing it this morning. What are the major needs that we see right now in our housing communities? I know we mentioned, like, what are the major needs that we see? That funding is definitely, we see going to those needs. What would you say they are?
Yeah. So I think that one of the main things that it comes down to is a breakdown in communication between landlords and tenants. That is caused by so many internal and external issues, but anyone who's ever been a renter, anyone who's ever been a landlord, we say it's the most intimate professional relationship that you're ever going to have with someone. So there are a litany of different things that cause folks to get behind on rent or not come forward to their landlord if they're having an issue with something's leaking, something's broken. So I think a lot of times we see folks getting behind on their rent because they are afraid to come forward or because they have a breakdown in communication with their landlord. So a lot of things that we all see is that folks have a change in income. They have recertification issues if they live in public or subsidized housing. They have like the same as all of us. They have an unexpected expense of some sort that's large that pushes folks back. Or they're just unaware or intimidated by or have had poor experiences with services that already exist. And so it's very important for all of us to be in the community making those connections so that folks know. So we're doing like literally what we're doing right now so that you know that we exist and that we can be here to help folks that are most vulnerable.
Thank you.
I'll try to bridge the gap between the last question and this one a little bit. I think one of the reasons why our program is so sustainable and kind of replicable is because the needs are the exact things that we are providing to tenants, right? Rental assistance, the ability to sit down with the two parties and kind of mend that breakdown in communication and speak outside of a courtroom context. If that doesn't work, then legal assistance so tenants can know their rights and other resource navigation needs, right? Not just money, but also the other things as well that can kind of solve all of the other issues going on in someone's life, right? Those are the needs that are caused by some of the things that Amity was just talking about: income change in household makeup, a medical crisis, unexpected expenses, right? Like life just happening. We can provide the resolutions to hopefully some of those things, and that's why our programs are sustainable. And those are the things that we try to provide to folks.
I think one of the things too that we don't always we talk about them, but like the broader public doesn't always talk about is just generalized poverty. People don't have money. Housing is not affordable. I think we just heard our lieutenant governor talk about it. We had 12% or something of rent increase, or I know 90% of the mediation clients we work with live below 50% AMI, which is not very much at all. And then when your housing costs, I think in Pittsburgh, an average one bedroom costs about $1,000 some odd dollars. How do you afford that when you make $15 an hour? There's no way. And that's not necessarily a breakdown in communication. I just don't got it.
I think one other issue too is, and it kind of goes on to just, it's explained by all of these issues that are popping up in folks' lives, is just the volume of cases that are being filed now. And talking about the pandemic as well, right? The program kind of cut its teeth in the pandemic and we've addressed how things have been changing since then, but our filings in Allegheny County are back to and probably exceeding pre-pandemic filing numbers. The tidal wave is coming down a little bit here. Last year there was 14,255 evictions filed in Allegheny County, and that's with just Mediation Pittsburgh doing 1,467 mediations, right? So we're looking in the ballpark of 15,500 to 16,000 evictions in Allegheny County, which would be effectively a record number if all of those mediations were not in place. And in addition to that, the three highest years on record of cases that made their way to the Court of Common Pleas were 2024, 2023, and 2022. And that's since they've started keeping statistics on case numbers in the Court of Common Pleas, right? So the volume is a huge barrier, and without kind of these resources in play, it would be an overwhelming outcomes for not just tenants, but for Allegheny County services in general to be able to handle.
So it sounds like we're dealing with a pandemic after the pandemic, of housing, because where are these people going after being displaced? Because of 70% of the affordable housing being removed from this region, where are these people, where are they going? So once again, thank you for the work that you're doing, because it's a type of safety net that we need. But again, it's more of the work that we need. So the folks that are in this room right now, thank you for the work and the collaboration that you're doing, because we need more work, more thinking, more solutions, more networking to figure out what more work can we do to support the folks that need housing. So connecting, so now that we're here, as far as networking, what is the future of this ecosystem? What is the future of neighborhood legal, just mediation, action housing, rent help, and how can the folks out here get in contact with you all? And we're going to open up the floor for you all to have any questions with them, but what's the next steps for you all?
I think we can talk about some of the kind of specific solutions we've put into place, and
Please.
then talk about how we can kind
Sure.
of relay that into what the future looks like.
Thanks, Adam.
Absolutely. So I'll try to be brief on Lawyer of the Day, but like I talked about before, it was a pseudo right to counsel, an attempt to get a right to counsel folks to get connected to attorneys and resource navigators and other resources as early on in the process as possible. I said before, historically, tenants would have a 15% positive outcome rate. That would be a judgment in their favor, a dismissal, a withdrawal, or a settlement. In our courts currently for Lawyer of the Day, which consists of a partnership between Neighborhood Legal Services and a legal partner, Ebony Law, also being staffed by Rent Help Pittsburgh of their resource navigators in court. We have about a 60% positive outcome rate, right? So 4 times higher than your standard non-Lawyer of the Day court, and that's not accounting for curable judgments, pay and stays that are paid after the court date. I think the future is kind of continuing to look at how to make these programs more efficient, how to continue to be more collaborative with our partners, and to look at new needs that are popping up as more evictions get filed, as there is a shift in rental assistance landscape, as there are more top-down constraints being placed upon us.
Thank you.
I would love to say that some of the stuff that we're doing at JMP is honing in on the things that we're doing well already and seeing how we can expand that to include more community members. So something that we're talking about now is housing for seniors and housing for people who have different types that are differently abled, and student housing. Landlords and tenant, or good grief. Students frequently live in subpar housing when they're living at universities, and predatory landlords definitely in Allegheny County have taken great advantage of that. I also wanted to mention that we are beginning a partnership with the Financial Empowerment Center and Wave for Life so that we're able to, when there isn't access to rental assistance, folks can still access the ability to do financial coaching and counseling so they can put a budget in order so they can see, where, while that doesn't solve problems necessarily all of the time, just get a breakdown of where you actually are so your finances aren't as scary, and you can make realistic agreements whenever you're in the mediation space and not promising something that you're not going to be able to actually come through with. And I also wanted to mention that our community mediator pool, all of our mediators are contracted employees that are, they're paid individually for each mediation. We train all of our mediators, so we have folks that come from all walks of life, and we do that so that we can have a mediator pool that is representative of the communities in which we're serving. A great deal of them serve on boards, work at other nonprofits, and live in communities that face a lot of these issues, so we get to have a very unique perspective and get a lot of their insight during our process as well.
Thank you, Amity.
I think Action's role, one of the things that we've been working, all the leadership of these organizations, is to continue the conversations about how to maintain the infrastructure, the really amazing infrastructure that we were able to build during COVID, and keep that going. DHS is committed to working with us to try and be the best that we can be in the next round of rental assistance. So I think while we don't know exactly what it will be, it will exist, which is very comforting and should be to all of us, because we're working together to figure out the best way to do this moving forward.
Thank you.
Yep, and just like Adam said, the Right to Counsel bill that went out, so, oh my gosh, the Right to Counsel will be spread citywide. We're also looking to expand in the county to at least 2 more municipality magisterial district courts, so that's awesome. and then kind of just continuing to work in partnership with everybody that we've been working with. It's really nice, I can say as somebody who works boots on the ground every day working with tenants face to face, to be able to go to partners and administrators and tell my perspective and the perspective of the people that I work with and what's going to work better for them, and actually know that the people that I'm talking to are listening and making changes for the better.
Thank you. Can I just get an assessment in the room? Who's here from Allegheny County? Okay, so we have some folks. I was going to ask who's here not from Allegheny County, the adverse, so I'm not going to go there. All right, so I know Lawyer of the Day is specifically for the municipalities of the city of Pittsburgh, just an FYI. So that is within Allegheny County, but it's within the municipality of city of Pittsburgh, just FYI. But we want to open up the floor to any questions that anyone, folks may have. We have our mic runners. Hey, Carrie, hi. Let's give it up for our mic runner this morning. If you didn't do your exercise, it's going to happen. Any questions that anyone may have, the floor is open for you. Hey, we have someone here. Good morning.
Hi, thank you.
Hi.
I actually just wanted to do a really quick point of clarification. My name's Abby Ray Lacombe. I'm the executive director of Rent Help Pittsburgh. And one thing I want to flag is while Lawyer of the Day at present has been exclusively in the city of Pittsburgh, due to some really awesome work that this panel and all of the rest of our colleagues that are not on the panel have done with Allegheny County and in particular DHS. We received $14 million in eviction prevention funding for the coming fiscal year. And that is going, yeah, for real. Like, it's the first time it's ever been a line item in our county budget. So, like, huzzah, because that's a great win. Yeah. But from that, we will be expanding Lawyer of the Day into 2 municipalities outside of the city. And we have really deep commitment from the county executive to see that broader. For those that aren't from Allegheny County, there are 46 courts in Allegheny County, and there are, I mean, a really, really amazing population of us, but nowhere near enough to be at 46 courts all the time. So we've been working really closely to figure out how do we target the courts that are going to need us the most, have the greatest impact. So I just wanted to make clear, like, we're coming. We're leaving our boundaries. We are getting out there. So nice job, you guys.
Thank you, Abby. So good to see you. Thanks for being here. Thank you for adding that. Appreciate it.
Good morning.
Morning.
I think this question actually is for all 4 of you. So my name is Sarah. I'm with Jewish Family and Community Services. I'll be on the panel next after this. But you all have spoken a lot about mediation and assisting families that are dealing with eviction. But something that we run into a lot is how do we advocate on behalf of our families when there is a lack of communication? So we haven't even gotten to the eviction process, but we are having an issue with getting a response to a pretty serious maintenance request or anything that may happen before we get to the eviction. So I think for a lot of our families, we've been very fortunate that we have not come to an eviction, but we are often facing issues with communication while they are under lease and how to advocate for them and be a partner with them while also ensuring that they have their, these families who may not have English as their first language have the ability to communicate with their landlords and to know what their rights are when it comes to lack of communication.
Well, I would love to answer that question. And the answer is just Mediation Pittsburgh. So we aren't able to work with tenants that actually have an active eviction filing. So that is what we're here for. We are here before you get to the eviction process when there's any type of breakdown in communication. If there's habitability concerns, if it's end of lease terms, we do deal with arrearages a great deal as a collaborative, but the mediation services, that is literally what we're here for, so that we can address those issues. We have an extremely skilled intake team that is very good at convincing both landlords and tenants to come to the table. We offer, additional wraparound services as well, but that's literally what we're here for. So the landlords or tenants or support people can fill out an intake form on our website. It's justmediationpgh.org. Our intake team reaches out within 10 business days. We'll complete intake with the tenant and the landlord, get them scheduled for mediation. Our mediations take up to 90 minutes. And then at the end, 90% of folks come to an agreement that works best for them. So they're able to address those habitability issues that you're talking about, or anything else that might come up during mediation and in pre-mediation. Does that answer your question? Oh, I do. Sorry, I had one other thing I wanted to, that Natalie just reminded me. We also have a partnership with Global Wordsmiths. So, so we offer translation and interpretation services in over 200 languages. We have those. We work with them, so we can do video and over the phone interpretation and translation services.
I know I can add. I know there's Spanish stabilization. I know there's the hub.
Howard.
Hispanic. Is it the Hispanic? Yes.
There's Howard.
Howard, can you speak to is the Hispanic stabilization?
Yes, I'm from the Pittsburgh
Thank
Hispanic
you.
Development Corporation. My name is Howard Alvarez, and I'm the Director of Programs and Operations. I'm part of the collaboration as well. I'm part of this wonderful team, and I love Abby over there. Well, basically, the role of the Pittsburgh Hispanic Development Corporation in this collaboration is as coordinated entry. So as we are one of the organizations that is on the floor with the community, that is, every day knowing their struggles, every day having them walking in at the building with different, I would say, inquiries in terms of housing, employment, or business development. But in terms of housing, our role is to try to facilitate for them the housing process, and it means how to rent a house, how to buy a house, if they are struggling financially, or if they need legal assistance. That is where we identify the case, we describe the case, we understand the case, and then we pass it on to this wonderful team for them to assist them with representation or mediation. So basically, that's the work that community organizations we are doing in Pittsburgh. We have been working with more than 100 families in the last 2 years through this collaboration at least, and this is key because you need to understand the community. You need to know the case for them to work with someone else that will be representing them in court or in a mediation. And I think like this is pretty important, being there and supporting them, because they are going through so many struggles sometimes, and this is a lot of help that we can provide for them.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. Thank you, Abby. Thank you.
Just say one more thing about the habitability issues here, and also another shout out to Howard and the Hispanic Development Corporation. For severe habitability issues, right, lack of a major utility, heat, water, electric, or anything that's a real threat immediately to life and safety, we can file affirmative cases against landlords. We also work with Language Line and Global Wordsmith to be able to access folks who speak, as Amity said, over 200 languages. But we can take affirmative action on those cases for extremely serious, potentially life-threatening habitability situations with tenants as well.
Thank you, Adam, for speaking to that. Thank you. Any other questions? We have a hand up here. Oh,
Hi.
Todd, and then Lady in the white shirt.
Can I?
Yep, we hear
it's
you.
live. Hi, my name is Todd Schwartz. I'm with the PHRC at the Philadelphia Regional Office. I believe one of the strategies, wage stagnation in Pennsylvania is real. I think we have a minimum wage of $7.25 an hour.
Correct.
That's embarrassing. I think that that needs to be addressed, and I just implore, and I'm sure you do have a liaison with the state senate, and I just implore everyone in here to contact your local representative, your state senator, email them and tell them that $7.25 an hour does not translate into a livable wage, and that needs to be addressed. And thank you for your indulgence. That's it.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you. Carrie, there's a person here in the Cream? That I saw hand first, and then we can go to that hand.
I know that you had mentioned that the lawyer of the day was just Allegheny County. Are all the other programs that you've mentioned, do they go up into Beaver and Lawrence? Because that's primarily where I work. So the global wordsmiths, the action housing, or is it just Allegheny County?
So for this collaborative with Action Housing, it's Allegheny County only. Action Housing has lots of other programs that go into other counties, but they are not related to this ecosystem.
Now, Adam, does Neighborhood Legal do other work in other counties?
Yes, so Neighborhood Legal Services covers Allegheny and then Beaver, Butler, and Lawrence counties as well. We use Language Line and Global Wordsmiths across all of our counties for all of our tenants. And it's not currently in place, but we have some initiatives to try to look at expanding representation for tenants in Lawrence County as well. I can't commit to exactly what that looks like right now, but something to expand representation for tenants in Lawrence County. But we do have offices in each of those counties, physical locations in each of those counties as well.
Thank you. Thanks. Hello.
Just Mediation Pittsburgh is in Allegheny County. We can sometimes take cases in whenever we don't have a huge influx, which isn't very often, but in any of the counties that touch Allegheny. It's difficult with our current grant funding, but we're diversifying our funding, so hopefully we'll be able to offer those services in additional counties as well soon.
And Rent Help Pittsburgh is Allegheny County.
Let Abby speak, because I'm pretty sure she wants to speak to that question. Right, Abby? Okay, go ahead. Go for it, Abby. You're good, Carrie.
Most of the supportive services are funded either by DHS or the city of Pittsburgh, or specific other municipalities. Rent Help has long been interested in expanding our programming, not necessarily our organization, but working with adjacent counties to either create a Rent Help Beaver or potentially us moving in there. The issue is working with the municipalities and county government there to understand the value and importance of funding the resources that actually help the person or the duo reach a resolution. So we could get JMP there, but then we still have to advocate really hard to get the rental assistance because 95% of eviction cases are actually non-payment of rent cases. So we still have to have this balance of how do you get people a pathway to resource. But if you want to talk about that, I would be happy to, because we are always looking, like, how can we build it out? Like, it needs to happen, so.
Just to touch on that, because I don't think we mentioned this as much during our kind of presentation, but kind of what Abby Ray just alluded to, talking about how it's not really, it is beneficial, but it's not as beneficial as it could be for just one of us to get somewhere, right? The whole is much greater than the sum of its parts, right? Just legal assistance, just resource navigation, just mediation, just mediation is great, but they are reliant upon each other to maximize the outcomes and make the outcomes best and most efficient for landlords and tenants, right? Tenants need legal assistance so they can mediate properly. They need rental assistance to solve their current issue and stabilize themselves for the future. They need all of these resources in concert with one another. So it's not just expanding one of our organizations, it's expanding as a whole, as a unit, as a collaborative to make sure that these programs are working as well as they can.
Here in Examiner Cope, just for that question and then that question in the back, because I think dovetailing off this question, that question in the back.
Hi, I'm Tamara Shahade Cope. I'm one of the hearing examiners with the PHRC. I would love to hear a little more about the community mediation program. I know you referenced it. Just wondering if there's an enrollment period. You had mentioned training is provided. Just wondering if there's like a mentorship, that happens. I'd love to just hear more about the process.
Absolutely. So currently we're full up on mediators, but we're always taking applications. You can find that also on our website, justmediationpgh.org. And the mediator training is a 40-hour training. It is completed at the Conflict Lab in Lawrenceville on Butler Street. by one of our incredible mediators and our board chair. Her name is Selena Schultz. And then once you become a community mediator, since we only are doing landlord-tenant cases, you're still able to mediate elsewhere if you like, but you're also, I think we ask for up to 2 times a month that you reserve a slot on our calendar. One of our staff, Dana, sets that all up and schedules all of our mediators and then assigns them to cases and assigns them to resource navigators. So we're all working in conjunction with one another. Does that answer your question? Okay, great.
Now, there was a question there in the back. Finally. Oh, thank you.
If it's okay, I actually had a couple, if that's all right. Well, but one of them should be really fast. The first one was just, my name's Brian. I work for a small local nonprofit here in Pittsburgh called Homeless Children's Education Fund.
Yes.
First
AJ,
question.
AJ
Yeah,
Jefferson.
yeah, AJ.
Yay, tell our son.
I will,
Please
for
tell
sure.
her Nita Level says hello.
I will, for sure.
Thank you.
So first one that I had was just around some of the data points that you mentioned. So I think you said around 14,000 evictions in the last year that we have data for. And you mentioned, I think it was somewhere between 1,000 and 2,000 that you guys had been able to address as cases. I wanted to confirm that 1,000 to 2,000 was correct. And is that like between the all 4 groups, or is that one particular organization in particular, or?
So I'll clarify my statistics. So there was 14,255 evictions filed in Allegheny County in 2024. DHS has a great dashboard that you can look at all the statistics for filings at the magisterial district court level. The 2006 number that I quoted was the amount of cases that were appealed to the Court of Common Pleas. So I just got those numbers looking at the Allegheny County Department of Court Records website. And I quoted some of the other numbers that were also from the Court of Common Pleas Department of Court Records website. In 2023 and 2022 were 2 of the 3 highest years that we had also seen. So those weren't cases that we necessarily had that we touched, the group as a whole. Those are just statistics of looking at filings in Allegheny County and then how many of those cases got appealed to the Court of Common Pleas. One thing to say about that I didn't mention, though, is 14,255 magistrate cases. 2,006 got appealed to the Court of Common Pleas, right? There's a huge disparity there. So what happened to those other 12,000 cases? That's a rate of about 14% of cases that get appealed to Common Pleas. That's historically pretty stable. 15% of cases get appealed. 14 to 15% of cases are also ruled in favor of the tenant at the magisterial district court level. Our numbers for our lawyer of the day courts are higher than that, right? I was looking at the 60% number. So let's average it out and say 20, right? That's still around 35% of cases that are either resolved or appealed to the Court of Common Pleas. So we're looking at 65% of the filings in Allegheny County potentially result in evictions in as soon as 21 days from the date of filing. So something to keep in mind when you're thinking about kind of the eviction crisis in Allegheny County.
Yeah, that's really helpful. And can you speak to like how many of those 14,000 might have that the collaborative might have touched in some way?
I'll speak just to Lawyer of the Day first, and then. So Lawyer of the Day has so far had 1,500 cases that we've handled with outcomes. So those are cases where we have either a settlement, withdrawal, dismissal, a judgment for the defendant, or a judgment for the plaintiff. 1,500 of those cases. But again, that's only in 4 courts currently, and all of our everyone in the collaborative handles many, many more cases outside of just what is in Lawyer of the Day. That's just one small solution that we've found to help with the crisis.
I never know if it's on. For mediations, we just surpassed 3,500 mediation agreements since we have been in existence. I think the first year in 2020 we had like 300 or something, and now it's 2025. We're up to 3,500 resolutions that we've come to. Over 1,400 of those were in 2024, and those would be those are before going to court, right? So that's like an additional 1,400 cases that would have been potentially in addition to that 14,000.
I can say that last year in 2024, the collaborative made 4,673 payments. I don't have the split between how many of those were eviction versus mediation, but those cover both of those categories. And I will say we're building into our data system to be able to differentiate because that's an important number.
Thank
Do you
you.
want me to take that, Kamaya?
Sure, Abby, if you want to continue to speak to
So,
Yeah.
of the numbers that have been discussed, so the thing is, we're all sharing slices of a pie. So if we start at the 14,000, one program that didn't get mentioned is that we do outreach to every household in Rent Help does outreach to every household in Allegheny County with an eviction filing for whom we have contact information. And all of our contact information comes from DHS. And we're typically able to do outreach, like get contact information for around 85% of eviction filings. So when we do that outreach, it's one, a PSA, because otherwise folks are only informed through a mailer. We used to do mailers. We had a 12% bounce back rate from the address that was filed with the court. So that's 12% of people that are just out the gates not going to be informed that they were being evicted, as Kamaya alluded to. So we do text and call. And for all of the folks that aren't in Lawyer of the Day, what we're doing is referring to them to HSC or to Action's hotline, as well as to NLS's front door hotline, to at least get them some legal consultation. Then to Natalie's question of like, what is approximately the break? Rent Help serves around 2,200 households with direct resource navigation every year. And last year, the breakdown of that was gonna be like right around 63% were mediation, and whatever the other side of 63 is was Lawyer of the Day. But I think this year, we're gonna see that start to invert a bit because we're expecting to add overall probably about 4 to 5 courts in Lawyer of the Day, so.
That's awesome.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Abby Ray. Our fifth panelist.
And
Thank you. Yes. So glad you're here.
And could you speak a little bit to what happens, what the follow-up is like post Lawyer of the Day? So like once the ruling has been made, in favor of landlord, in favor of tenant, pay and stay, whatever it is, can you speak a little bit to what happens if they are if they are actively evicted? What that follow-up is like, and then what it's like if they do end up in a positive resolution, that like 65% or so that you listed.
So I can speak briefly to the resource navigation portion of that. Rent Help Pittsburgh is very big on warm handoffs. We don't want to see anybody fall through the cracks, as we know. During social services, that's very common for people to fall through cracks, especially with turnover and things like that, and employment. So for us, once we have like a filing, whether we send somebody to the HSC and we email the team down there and let them know, hey, I have this person coming at this time to see you for this, and I told them to have all of these pieces of paper with them, they'll be there at this time. And then they're there to meet Jayla or Bree or whoever's down there to meet them. We also make sure we connect them with some sort of legal services for appeals. Like Adam said, our appeals are pretty stagnant in Allegheny County across the years. We want people to know that you have the opportunity to appeal. Even if you don't necessarily think you have the right to appeal, that can always buy you a little more time in your house based off of that 21 days when they can lock you out. So if you can get 2 more months in your house by doing an appeal, please do it and connect with legal services to help you do that.
Yeah, from the legal perspective, so just some of those stats again, what we look at as positive outcomes are judgments for the defendant, settlements, withdrawals, or dismissals, in addition to effectively a money-only judgment, so the landlord not getting possession, and that is around 60%. We also look at what are pay and stay judgments that are cured with rental assistance after that. About conservatively, I would say 50% of those thus far have been cured. So that would be 50% of 404 cases so far, so that would be 27% of the total. So we're looking at somewhere around 70 to 73% of the cases in our specific courts get positive outcomes where the tenant maintains possession. For those that don't, from the legal perspective that we handle, if it is any type of subsidized housing, we are transferring that in-house to another attorney to handle appeal and representation at the Court of Common Pleas. And for private cases, depending on the situation, we can do that. But at a bare minimum, that individual gets advice on appeals and pro se help with their case in the Court of Common Pleas.
Thank you.
That's great. Thank you. I got more, but I'll yield.
Yeah,
'cause I'm sure
thank
there's
you.
more.
We'll yield. Any other questions? Any other questions from, can we give someone else, yeah, we'll pass around to someone else who may have another question in the audience. Thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
Just to piggyback off of Brian's questions here, my name is Tasha. I'm with the
Hi, Tasha.
Department of Aging. And I think this question may be geared towards Adam. You had mentioned that in the court for tenants and landlords that they had about a 14 to 15% positive outcome. To your knowledge and to your experience, is there a specific rhyme or reason to why there's such a large disparity?
I mean, there's a few. I mean, first and foremost, the no-show rate, like Abby Ray had said, the addresses that folks get served at are wrong sometimes. So the no-show rate, I'll say anecdotally, because I don't have the numbers with me now, is probably 20%. So 1 out of every 5, just chalk it off the bat, that someone is not going to show up for their court. The next are folks who are unaware of how the legal system works, kind of intimidated to stand up for themselves in court. The power imbalance and dynamic between landlord and tenant there's a vast disparity there, and landlords will oftentimes get the benefit of the doubt. They're in court with these magistrates all the time. They have a relationship with the magistrate. They see them weekly on most occasions. And then in addition to that, just an inability of both legal resources and financial resources to solve their problem, right? If you don't know your defense, you can't raise it. And if your issue is non-payment, and you don't have the money to pay it yourself or access to rental assistance, you also can't pay it, right? So it's a plethora of issues, but I think those probably highlight the main issues there.
Thank you. We'll take one more question, and we are going to end our time. This morning is flying. You all are fantastic. Do we have one more question? Yeah, let's go for it.
Good morning.
Sure.
My question
Is there someone that hasn't had a question that we can?
my question is there a cost for the appeal process for the tenant?
So there's not a filing fee if you are under a certain income threshold. You can get an informa pauperis form, which waives the actual filing fee, and that's not just for the appeal, that's for anything that you might file in court. In Allegheny County, you do have to effectively pay a bond to court. If you have lost your case at the magistrate level, you do effectively have to pay a bond to court monthly to keep your appeal for possession alive into the court. I'll simplify this as much as possible, but basically you have to pay your rent into the court while your case is ongoing. It's not quite that, but effectively that's what you have to do when you are taking your case through appeal in the Court of Common Pleas. So there is a cost not associated necessarily with the filing, but with maintaining your case in the Court of Common Pleas if you lost at the magistrate level. If you won, and the landlord appeals, let's say, that is not a cost that is required.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to say that if folks need help appealing, the Housing Stabilization Center that's open Monday through Thursday, 9:30 to 4:30, that is where tenants can come to get help filing that appeal. Jayla is amazing from Rent Help Pittsburgh, and she helps folks fill out those forms. It can take up to 90 minutes, sometimes 2 hours, so I'd recommend if anybody needs that to come earlier in the day.
Jayla is absolutely amazing.
Jayla is amazing. I'd also like to piggyback off what Kamaya had said earlier. We will make warm referrals to anybody in the collaborative. So like with Howard here also, we have other folks at other organizations that are part of this collaborative. If you reach out to one of us and we don't have the thing that you need, we will make sure that you get the thing that you need. It just depends on the issue. So if they have an eviction, if they don't have an eviction filing, but they've been given a 10-day notice, they have, just any sort of other dispute with their landlord, start with Just Mediation Pittsburgh. The intake form on our website, or they can call, that is the best place to start pre-eviction issues.
We always say anybody can come to the HSC. We see about 550 folks a month. If you go to actionhousing.org, we also have listed our hotline number. We have a rental assistance email inbox that's monitored throughout the week and responded to. So those are kind of some of the front doors, but like Amity said, we will point anybody in any direction that we think they need.
Is there contact information in the program at all? I haven't even had a chance to see.
I don't know.
You all have cards with you all today?
I do.
Okay.
Yes, sure.
So make sure, because our time together is also our time to network and connect, and so please make sure to connect with Adam and Amity and Natalie and Kamaya. They're also here to connect with you all, and any of us. That's what we're here for. So thank you for that question, because you're right. So we're not just here for information, we're also here to connect so that you can know what the next steps are. So thank you for that question. We appreciate that. I wanted to take questions until 10:15, so I didn't intentionally lie. I think we maybe have time for one more question till 9:15. Sorry, Carrie. You're just out here running. If there's another question, I think we may have time for one more. I'm loving the synergy in the room. How are you all feeling? You all feel all right? Okay, here we go. He's at it again. We'll give it to him. We'll give it to him. Go
Thank
for
you,
it.
guys.
You're welcome.
So, do you have any sort of direct collaborations or outreach ongoing with any of the school districts in Allegheny County? Because I know that all of the schools have homeless liaisons who are designated to, yeah, exactly, identify folks who are struggling with housing in a broad sense. So, facing evictions, doubling up. So they have, lists of folks who are if not in active eviction, likely to be going through them at some point in the future, or high risk for them. So I'm wondering if you guys have anything going on with school districts right now.
I will say that's long been a dream of mine. Before I came to Action Housing, I worked in homeless services for many years and had relationships with those liaisons, so I know how very many things that they can connect you to, how dialed in they are to the students in the school district. To answer your question, no, not at this time, but it's definitely on my dream vision board.
Cool. Maybe you can talk with Natalie
Yeah.
today.
Yeah, I would love to.
I also want to talk to you.
That's a great question. Thank you. My previous years, I worked with legal advocacy with Kids Voice, so I'm totally familiar with the McKinney-Vento and the importance of that population with our kiddos and homelessness. It's a total thing. So I'm hoping that you all definitely get a chance to collaborate. You all are fantastic. It's 10:14. You all are amazing. Thank you, Abby Ray Lacombe. I just want to give you a shout out for being here. You're the executive director of Rent Help, right? Yes. So I want to make sure our fifth shadow panelist that's in the audience, and Kamaya, let me I just want to go through their names again. Shout out to Kamaya Berry, who is the Court Resource Navigator. Natalie Ryan, Director of Housing, Stabilization Action Housing. Amity Weichel Sandstrom, Program Manager, Just Mediation. Adam Debo with the stats, y'all. Adam said bow bow with the numbers. Thank you, Adam. Manager of Neighborhood Legal Services. You all are absolutely amazing. Thank you for doing the work that you do, and I can tell that you all have the passion what you're doing. And Kamaya, I kind of want to go back to what you said, because I think the conversation that we had today was very high level. We were talking a lot about numbers, talking a lot about what they're offering, and there was transactional. We're talking about people though too, right? And we're talking about what Kamaya was saying, that, people just don't have it. And I think it's really important that we continue, and I know that we know this, that we continue to remember that the main thing is the main thing, and the main thing here are the people. Let's not forget that we are peopling too. I know we're talking a lot about numbers, and I know the people here at this table, they know it. But let's not forget that the main thing is always the main thing, and that is the people. the people, the people. So thank you for always remembering, no matter what we see on the black and white and these dots that we see, that we are peopling. The main thing is the main thing and the people. And sometimes the people that we're working with, a lot of times, they just ain't got it. They don't have it. So whatever that we do, make sure that we do whatever we can to support them and making sure that they have it. A lot of times it can just be the conversation. When I went into the housing stabilization, I could just feel that they cared about the people. And that matters in the numbers show. So Natalie, when you tell me that they gave you all an extra, what, 250,000? That matters. That means that there's care, and caring matters with the numbers. So thank you, Abby Ray. Thank you, Adam, Amity, Natalie, Kamaya, and everyone in this room. That matters. That means that you're caring about the people, and that's the main thing. So thank you all. Enjoy the rest of your day. Appreciate you. Thank you, Carrie, for running the mic. Thank you for your questions. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for being with us.
So not so fast. So, no,